The quiet peace of a private countryside wedding was instantly shattered the moment the cameras caught a glimpse of two unexpected arrivals. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie just caused absolute chaos at Peter Phillips's wedding, sending shockwaves through the crowd and leaving royal observers in complete disbelief. Behind their smiles lies a brewing storm that the palace desperately tried to keep hidden, but a devastating 24-hour leak has completely changed the game. What you are about to see isn't just a story about a family rift, it is a calculated chess move played out in broad daylight, and understanding the hidden signal behind their appearance will completely flip your perspective on the entire monarchy. If you enjoy uncovering the truth behind the palace's most guarded secrets, come along for the ride. Hit that subscribe button and let's unravel what really happens behind closed doors together. The guest list for this weekend's highly anticipated countryside wedding was altered at the very last second, and the names left entirely crossed out. Tell you everything you need to know about the current panic inside the palace. When Peter Phillips and his bride prepared to walk down the aisle at All Saints Church, a strict command was reportedly issued behind closed doors. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and Sarah Ferguson were officially banned from attending. The palace was fully aware that allowing them to step foot near the venue would spark an absolute media circus, completely overshadowing what was meant to be a quiet, private family celebration. Insiders say the tension leading up to the event was at an all-time high, with intense planning underway to ensure the couple's special day wouldn't be utterly ruined by the dark cloud currently hanging over the family name. But the palace's desperate attempt to keep the focus away from the ongoing scandal backfired the moment the cameras started rolling at the church gates. Even though the parents were strictly locked out, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie made a highly visible, incredibly bold arrival alongside their husbands. Observers were left completely stunned, as initial reports had strongly suggested the two sisters would quietly stay away to avoid drawing any unnecessary heat. Instead, their arrival instantly shifted the entire narrative of the day, turning a simple family gathering into a high-stakes public statement. Eugenie, who is currently expecting her third child, proudly displayed her growing baby bump in a stylish navy dress, sending a clear visual signal to the world that her branch of the family refuses to be completely erased from the picture. Yet, behind those confident smiles and the joyful front they presented to the flashing cameras, a massive storm was already brewing that none of them could escape. The timing of their public appearance couldn't have been worse, because just 24 hours before they stepped out in the Cotswolds, an official document leak had completely dismantled their privacy. While the public was busy watching the glamorous arrivals, royal experts were already tearing through an explosive new government report that directly targets the family's hidden wealth. They thought hiding the controversial parents would be enough to keep the press at bay. But what this newly uncovered data reveals about the sisters themselves is about to push public fury to a total breaking point. And as it turns out, the elite guest list was just the opening act for a much larger, high-stakes game that involves millions in hidden palace funding. The visual dynamic outside All Saints Church took a highly unexpected turn the moment the heir to the throne made his arrival, completely shifting the stakes of an already tense situation. When Prince William and Princess Kate stepped into the Cotswolds venue, they weren't just attending a standard family celebration, they were walking directly into a highly sensitive public relations minefield. Observers immediately noticed the intense underlying tension as William joined his cousins, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, marking the first time they had all been seen gathered together in several months. The public layout of this meeting was absolutely critical, especially since the palace inner circle had spent weeks trying to separate the core working royals from the mounting controversies surrounding the York name. Behind the scenes, the optics of this reunion were being analyzed at the highest level, with every gesture and interaction heavily scrutinized under the flashing media lights. Insiders say Prince William has been fiercely protective of the institution's public image, making his decision to share the spotlight with Beatrice and Eugenie a massive talking point for those tracking palace politics. Rumors indicate that while a united front was displayed for the cameras, a distinct distance has been growing between the future king and the branches of the family affected by recent negative press. Yet, there they were, standing on the exact same church grounds, forced to put on a brave face while a massive financial storm threatened to break out right over their heads. But what made this specific gathering so incredibly fragile wasn't just the awkward family dynamics on display. It was the fact that a ticking clock was counting down to a major public exposure. Even as the family put on a highly polished performance for the wedding crowds, they were fully aware that journalists were already armed with devastating new details regarding the family's lifestyle. The presence of the future monarch alongside his non-working cousins provided a striking contrast that critics were waiting to exploit. And as it turns out, the true nature of what is being funded behind palace doors was about to leak out, proving that this brief moment of wedding solidarity couldn't hide the deep financial divisions fracturing the monarchy. While Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie were smiling for the wedding cameras, a highly confidential financial arrangement keeping them inside their luxury palace walls was quietly exposed to the public. For years, the average observer assumed that because both sisters hold private, high-paying corporate jobs, they were entirely footing the bill for their own lavish lifestyles. But a devastating new government watchdog report has completely shattered that illusion, triggering immediate outrage across the country. According to sources, the official documents reveal that the immense accommodation costs for their premier royal residences are actually being covered through special arrangements heavily subsidized by the crown. The depth of this hidden funding arrangement goes far deeper than a simple family discount, creating a major public relations nightmare for the palace inner circle. Reports suggest that both sisters have been quietly enjoying heavily discounted prime real estate inside St. James's Palace and Kensington Palace based on completely outdated property valuations. What makes this discovery so incredibly damaging is the fact that neither Beatrice nor Eugenie are working royals who perform official duties on behalf of the public. Yet, while ordinary citizens are facing unprecedented living costs, these non-working members of the family have reportedly had their high-end housing bills quietly taken care of behind closed doors. But the most alarming part of this newly uncovered financial data isn't just the rent subsidies themselves, it is the mystery of who exactly authorized these deals while the palace was claiming to cut down on waste. Insiders say that public accountability groups are now demanding a full investigation into how these premier properties are managed and who is truly losing out on the rental income. The pressure on the family is mounting by the hour as critics openly question whether it is appropriate for private individuals to receive such extreme level of institutional support. And just when you think the financial favoritism couldn't get any worse, the very same leaked report points an accusing finger directly at their father's sprawling estate, uncovering an even more calculated operation operating right under the public's nose. The hidden mechanics of how the family generated massive amounts of private wealth right on the grounds of a public estate have just been completely exposed, sending shockwaves through the entire political establishment. For years, the public was told that the sprawling 30-room royal lodge was simply a private sanctuary maintained at a high personal expense. But the bombshell National Audit Office report leaked on Friday completely shattered that narrative, revealing a highly calculated multi-property rental operation. According to sources, while the main occupant was paying practically nothing to live in the historic mansion under a nominal deal, he was quietly exercising a hidden clause to sublet 3 separate cottages on the estate grounds for private cash. The level of absolute secrecy surrounding this property operation has left government financial watchdogs completely stunned and deeply frustrated. The official report openly admits that investigators have no idea exactly how much private income was pocketed from these secret tenants over the last 2 decades. Independent property experts suggest that renting out 3 premier cottages in such a highly secure, prestigious location could easily command massive sums, potentially funneling large amounts of money straight into a private account. Insiders say that public accountability groups are furious that these substantial proceeds flowed directly to an individual rather than being returned to the public treasury where they belong. But the most critical part of this newly uncovered document isn't just the missing financial figures, it is the sudden realization of how long this setup was allowed to operate completely hidden from view. Reports suggest that the tenants only officially packed up and vacated the properties in April. meaning the cash flow continued right up until the final moments before the eviction took place. While palace representatives maintained that the rental income was simply used to help offset local maintenance and staff running costs, the complete lack of transparency has triggered intense demands for a sweeping parliamentary inquiry. And as lawmakers prepare to tear into these agreements, the sudden collapse of this hidden empire is forcing the family to face a brutal new reality they can no longer escape. The days of hiding behind ancient palace privileges are officially over, and the high-stakes financial bubble surrounding this controversial family branch has just completely burst. For years, the palace inner circle managed to deflect negative press by keeping their highly unusual property deals locked away in private archives. But the sudden, absolute termination of the long-term lease at Royal Lodge has initiated a cascading crisis that no amount of public relations spin can fix. According to sources, the primary resident has already been forced to completely pack up his life and relocate to a much smaller, far less prestigious property hidden deep within the Sandringham estate. This dramatic downgrade isn't just a simple change of address, it is a visible, undeniable strip of status that has sent a cold shudder through the entire family line. The panic behind closed doors is reaching a critical fever pitch because the family is running entirely out of places to hide from the public eye. Insiders say that the upcoming parliamentary inquiry by the Public Accounts Committee is being designed as a relentless, top-to-bottom audit of all royal housing arrangements. Lawmakers are reportedly preparing to demand full disclosure on every single shilling pocketed from those secret cottage rentals, threatening to expose information that could permanently damage the family's remaining standing. Rumors indicate that investigators are particularly interested in checking whether any of those funds were used to offset recent, massive legal complications that surfaced overseas. The walls are closing in rapidly, and the true extent of what has been hidden from the public treasury is finally about to see the light of day. But what makes this incoming reckoning so incredibly terrifying for the York branch is that the financial threat is directly targeting the next generation as well. With Parliament fiercely demanding total transparency and public accountability, those heavily subsidized rent-free luxury apartments occupied by Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are sitting directly on the chopping block. Reports suggest that King Charles is facing immense internal and external pressure to completely cut off all institutional funding for non-working members of the family.